CBS 58's Adam Reif is live outside of the courthouse where people are gathering. Adam, we just saw a look inside the courtroom. What is it like outside where you are?
Well, outside it is deceivingly quiet, the calm before the storm, so to speak. We heard from our reporter Gabrielle Becerra inside, dozens of witnesses and their families inside, packing the hallways and the courtroom itself, waiting for this verdict. To come outside and have a gathering of sorts after that verdict is read. That could take quite a while, but outside right now we have the media assembled, ready to go, but waiting for those victims and witnesses and their families to come out. This emotionally charged case has impacted everyone in Waukesha, as we know, and as soon as we hear from them, we will bring that sound to you. Guys?
Will not be addressing.
All right, Adam, thank you very much. As you can see, people are now standing, which indicates the jury is walking in before the reading of the verdicts.
Brooks is facing 76 charges. That's including 6 counts of first-degree intentional homicide.
Determination that you don't have to answer that question as a public servant, Your Honor. For the record, may I request the legal or factual basis for your ruling, Your Honor?
It might have been a false alarm.
For the record, may I respectfully request a written judicial finding of fact and conclusion of law on this issue, Your Honor?
All your requests are noted for the record. They all are denied, sir. All rise. Jury's coming in.
For the record, may I respectfully move for an interlocutory declaratory appeal on this matter, Your Honor?
Denied.
For the record, may I move to stay these proceedings until this instant matter is adjudicated by a court of competent jurisdiction?
Denied.
Based on what law or fact, Your Honor? Is that a tacit agreement that you don't have to answer that question? For the record, Your Honor, as a public servant? You don't have to address admiralty law or common law if this court is operating under admiralty law?
Will not be addressing any of those issues.
Thank
you, everyone. Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, have you picked one among you to be the foreperson? Yeah. All right, and I see it's juror number 11. Have you reached verdicts on all 76 counts?
Yes.
All right, would you please hand all of the forms to the bailiff?
Your Honor, seeing as that we've reached a verdict, is it necessary that I have these shock devices on my ankles?
confirm that there are 76 signed verdicts and 76 unsigned verdicts, which would be what I would expect. All right, I will read each one into the record. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of first-degree intentional homicide as charged in count 1 of the information, dated this 26th day of October 2022, signed by the foreperson, juror number 11. If you find the defendant guilty of first-degree intentional homicide, answer the following question, yes or no. Did the defendant commit first-degree intentional homicide while using a dangerous weapon? Answer yes. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of first-degree intentional homicide as charged in count 2 of the information. Did the defendant commit first-degree intentional homicide while using a dangerous weapon? Answer yes.
Burn in hell, you piece of shit.
Hey, you are to be removed right now. You will not do that. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of first-degree intentional homicide as charged in count 3 of the information. And I should state as to count 2, it was signed and dated by the foreperson, same as to count 3. Did the defendant commit first-degree intentional homicide while using a dangerous weapon? Answer yes. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of first-degree intentional homicide as charged in count 4 of the information, dated this 26th day of October 2022, signed by the foreperson. Did the defendant commit first-degree intentional homicide while using a dangerous weapon? Answer yes. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of first-degree intentional homicide as charged in count 5 of the information, dated today's date and signed by the foreperson. Did the defendant commit first-degree intentional homicide while using a dangerous weapon? Answer yes. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of first-degree intentional homicide as charged in count 6 of the information, dated today's date, signed by the foreperson. Did the defendant commit first-degree intentional homicide while using a dangerous weapon? Answer yes. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of first-degree recklessly endangering safety as charged in count 7 of the information, dated today's date and signed by the foreperson. Did the defendant commit first-degree recklessly endangering safety while using a dangerous weapon? Answer yes. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of first-degree recklessly endangering safety as charged in count 8 of the information, dated today's date and signed by the foreperson. Did the defendant commit first-degree recklessly endangering safety while using a dangerous weapon? Answer yes. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of first-degree recklessly endangering safety as charged in count 9 of the information, dated today's date, signed by the foreperson. Did the defendant commit first-degree recklessly endangering safety while using a dangerous weapon? Answer yes. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of first-degree recklessly endangering safety as charged in count 10 of the information, dated today's date and signed by the foreperson. Did the defendant commit first-degree recklessly endangering safety while using a dangerous weapon? Answer yes. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of first-degree recklessly endangering safety as charged in count 11 of the information, dated today's date, signed by the foreperson. Did the defendant commit first-degree recklessly endangering safety while using a dangerous weapon? Yes. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of first-degree recklessly endangering safety as charged in count 12 of the information, dated today's date, signed by the foreperson. Did the defendant commit first-degree recklessly endangering safety while using a dangerous weapon? Answer yes. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of first-degree recklessly endangering safety as charged in count 13 of the information, dated today's date, signed by the foreperson. Did the defendant commit first-degree recklessly endangering safety while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of first-degree recklessly endangering safety as charged in count 14 of the information, dated today's date, signed by the foreperson. Did the defendant commit first-degree recklessly endangering safety while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of first-degree recklessly endangering safety as charged in count 15 of the information, dated today's date, signed by the foreperson. Did the defendant commit first-degree recklessly endangering safety while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of first-degree recklessly endangering safety as charged in count 16 of the information, dated today's date, signed by the foreperson. Did the defendant commit first-degree recklessly endangering safety while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty of first-degree recklessly endangering safety as charged in count 17 of the information, dated today's date, signed by the foreperson. Did the defendant commit first-degree recklessly endangering safety while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of first-degree recklessly endangering safety as charged in count 18 of the information, dated today's date, signed by the foreperson. Did the defendant commit first-degree recklessly endangering safety while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of first-degree recklessly endangering safety as charged in count 19 of the information, dated today's date, signed by the foreperson. Did the defendant commit first-degree recklessly endangering safety while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of first-degree recklessly endangering safety as charged in count 20 of the information, dated today's date, signed by the foreperson. Did the defendant commit first-degree recklessly endangering safety while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of first-degree recklessly endangering safety as charged in count 21 of the information, dated today's date, signed by the foreperson. Did the defendant commit first-degree recklessly endangering safety while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of first-degree recklessly endangering safety as charged in count 22 of the information, dated today's date, signed by the foreperson. Did the defendant commit first-degree recklessly endangering safety while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of first-degree recklessly endangering safety as charged in count 23 of the information, dated today's date, signed by the foreperson. Did the defendant commit first-degree recklessly endangering safety while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of first-degree recklessly endangering safety as charged in count 24 of the information, dated today's date, signed by the foreperson. Did the defendant commit first-degree recklessly endangering safety while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of first-degree recklessly endangering safety as charged in count 25 of the information, dated today's date and signed by the foreperson. Did the defendant commit first-degree recklessly endangering safety while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of first-degree recklessly endangering safety as charged in count 26 of the information, dated today's date, signed by the foreperson. Did the defendant commit first-degree recklessly endangering safety while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of first-degree recklessly endangering safety as charged in count 27 of the information, dated today's date, signed by the foreperson. Did the defendant commit first-degree recklessly endangering safety while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of first-degree recklessly endangering safety as charged in count 28 of the information, dated today's date, signed by the foreperson. Did the defendant commit first-degree recklessly endangering safety while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of first-degree recklessly endangering safety as charged in count 29 of the information, dated today's date, signed by the foreperson. Did the defendant commit first-degree recklessly endangering safety while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of first-degree recklessly endangering safety as charged in count 30 of the information, dated today's date, signed by the foreperson. Did the defendant commit first-degree recklessly endangering safety while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of first-degree recklessly endangering safety as charged in count 31 of the information, dated today's date, signed by the foreperson. Did the defendant commit first-degree recklessly endangering safety while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of first-degree recklessly endangering safety as charged in count 32 of the information, dated today's date, signed by the foreperson. Did the defendant commit first-degree recklessly endangering safety while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of first-degree recklessly endangering safety as charged in count 33 of the information, dated today's date, signed by the foreperson. Did the defendant commit first-degree recklessly endangering safety while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of first-degree recklessly endangering safety as charged in count 34 of the information, dated today's date, signed by the foreperson. Did the defendant commit first-degree recklessly endangering safety while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of first-degree recklessly endangering safety as charged in count 35 of the information, dated today's date, signed by the foreperson. Did the defendant commit first-degree recklessly endangering safety while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of first-degree recklessly endangering safety as charged in count 36 of the information, dated today's date, signed by the foreperson. Did the defendant commit first-degree recklessly endangering safety while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of first-degree recklessly endangering safety as charged in count 37 of the information, dated today's date, signed by the foreperson. Did the defendant commit first-degree recklessly endangering safety while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of first-degree recklessly endangering safety as charged in count 38 of the information, dated today's date, signed by the foreperson. Did the defendant commit first-degree recklessly endangering safety while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of first-degree recklessly endangering safety as charged in count 39 of the information, dated today's date, signed by the foreperson. Did the defendant commit first-degree recklessly endangering safety while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of first-degree recklessly endangering safety as charged in count 40 of the information, dated today's date, signed by the foreperson. Did the defendant commit first-degree recklessly endangering safety while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of first degree recklessly endangering safety as charged in count 41 of the information, dated today's date, signed by the foreperson. Did the defendant commit first degree recklessly endangering safety while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of first degree recklessly endangering safety as charged in count 42 of the information, dated today's date and signed by the foreperson. Did the defendant commit first degree recklessly endangering safety while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of first degree recklessly endangering safety as charged in count 43 of the information, dated today's date, signed by the foreperson. Did the defendant commit first degree recklessly endangering safety while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of first degree recklessly endangering safety as charged in count 44 of the information, dated today's date, signed by the foreperson. Did the defendant commit first degree recklessly endangering safety while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of first degree recklessly endangering safety as charged in count 45 of the information, dated today's date and signed by the foreperson. Did the defendant commit first degree recklessly endangering safety while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of first degree recklessly endangering safety as charged in count 46 of the information, dated today's date and signed by the foreperson. Did the defendant commit first degree recklessly endangering safety while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of first degree recklessly endangering safety as charged in count 47 of the information, dated today's date and signed by the foreperson. Did the defendant commit first degree recklessly endangering safety while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of first degree recklessly endangering safety as charged in count 48 of the information, dated today's date, signed by the foreperson. Did the defendant commit first degree recklessly endangering safety while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of first degree recklessly endangering safety as charged in count 49 of the information, dated today's date and signed by the foreperson. Did the defendant commit first degree recklessly endangering safety while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of first degree recklessly endangering safety as charged in count 50 of the information, dated today's date and signed by the foreperson. Did the defendant commit first degree recklessly endangering safety while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of first degree recklessly endangering safety as charged in count 51 of the information, dated today's date and signed by the foreperson. Did the defendant commit first degree recklessly endangering safety while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of first degree recklessly endangering safety as charged in count 52 of the information, dated today's date and signed by the foreperson. Did the defendant commit first degree recklessly endangering safety while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of first degree recklessly endangering safety as charged in count 53 of the information, dated today's date and signed by the foreperson. Did the defendant commit first degree recklessly endangering safety while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of first-degree recklessly endangering safety as charged in count 54 of the information, dated today's date and signed by the foreperson. Did the defendant commit first-degree recklessly endangering safety while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of first-degree recklessly endangering safety as charged in count 55 of the information, dated today's date and signed by the foreperson. Did the defendant commit first-degree recklessly endangering safety while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of first-degree recklessly endangering safety as charged in count 56 of the information, dated today's date and signed by the foreperson. Did the defendant commit first-degree recklessly endangering safety while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of first-degree recklessly endangering safety as charged in count 57 of the information, dated today's date and signed by the foreperson. Did the defendant commit first-degree recklessly endangering safety while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of first-degree recklessly endangering safety as charged in count 58 of the information, dated today's date and signed by the foreperson. Did the defendant commit first-degree recklessly endangering safety while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of first-degree recklessly endangering safety as charged in count 59 of the information, dated today's date and signed by the foreperson. Did the defendant commit first-degree recklessly endangering safety while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of first-degree recklessly endangering safety as charged in count 60 of the information, dated today's date and signed by the foreperson. Did the defendant commit first-degree recklessly endangering safety while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of first-degree recklessly endangering safety as charged in count 61 of the information, dated today's date and signed by the foreperson. Did the defendant commit first-degree recklessly endangering safety while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of first-degree recklessly endangering safety as charged in count 62 of the information, dated today's date and signed by the foreperson. Did the defendant commit first-degree recklessly endangering safety while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of first-degree recklessly endangering safety as charged in count 63 of the information, dated today's date and signed by the foreperson. Did the defendant commit first-degree recklessly endangering safety while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of first-degree recklessly endangering safety as charged in count 64 of the information, dated today's date and signed by the foreperson. Did the defendant commit first-degree recklessly endangering safety while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of first-degree recklessly endangering safety as charged in count 65 of the information, dated today's date and signed by the foreperson. Did the defendant commit first-degree recklessly endangering safety while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of first-degree recklessly endangering safety as charged in count 66 of the information, dated today's date and signed by the foreperson. Did the defendant commit first-degree recklessly endangering safety while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of first-degree recklessly endangering safety as charged in count 67 of the information, dated today's date and signed by the foreperson. Did the defendant commit first-degree recklessly endangering safety while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of hit and run as charged in count 68 of the information. Did the accident involve death to Virginia Sorensen? Answer, yes. Dated today's date and signed by the foreperson. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of hit and run as charged in count 69 of the information, dated today's date and signed by the foreperson. Did the accident involve death to Leanna Owen? Answer, yes. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of hit and run as charged in count 70 of the information, dated today's date and signed by the foreperson. Did the accident involve death to Tamara Durand? Answer, yes. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of hit and run as charged in count 71 of the information, dated today's date and signed by the foreperson. Did the accident involve death to Jane Kulik? Answer, yes. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of hit and run as charged in count 72 of the information, dated today's date and signed by the foreperson. Did the accident involve death to Wilhelm Hospital? Answer, yes. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of hit and run as charged in count 73 of the information, dated today's date and signed by the foreperson. Did the accident involve death to Jackson Sparks? Answer, yes. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of bail jumping as charged in count 74 of the information, dated today's date and signed by the foreperson. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of bail jumping as charged in count 75 of the information, dated today's date and signed by the foreperson. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of battery as charged in count 76 of the information, dated today's date and signed by the foreperson. Mr. Brooks, would you like me to poll the jury?
Yes.
Members of the jury, I'm going to ask each one of you individually to stand up, identify your number for the record, and then state whether the verdicts read in open court are your true verdicts. I'll start with the foreperson. And I'll read your numbers first so it's a little bit easier. So juror number 11. Were the verdicts read in open court, or are the verdicts, let me rephrase that. The verdicts read in open court, are those your true verdicts?
Yes.
Thank you. Juror number 3. The verdicts read in open court, are those your true verdicts?
Yes.
Thank you. Juror number 6. The verdicts read in open court, are those your true verdicts?
It is.
Thank you. Juror number 14. The verdicts read in open court, are those your true verdicts?
Yes.
Thank you. Juror number 19. The verdicts read in open court, are those your true verdicts?
Yes.
Thank you. Juror number 27. The verdicts read in open court, are those your true verdicts?
Yes.
Thank you. Juror number 34. The verdicts read in open court, are those your true verdicts?
Yes.
Thank you. Juror number 41. The verdicts read in open court, are those your true verdicts?
Yes.
Thank you. Juror number 45. The verdicts read in open court, are those your true verdicts?
Yes.
Thank you. Juror number 46. The verdicts read in open court, are those your true verdicts?
Yes.
Thank you. Juror number 48. The verdicts read in open court, are those your true verdicts?
They are, Your Honor.
Thank you. Juror number 51. The verdicts read in open court, are those your true verdicts?
Yes.
Thank you. I should state for the record, I did have the alternates brought back in. Obviously, they did not deliberate, but it was important to have them because there are certain instructions I give at the end. All right, Mr. Brooks, are you satisfied with the polling of the jurors?
No.
I'm sorry?
No.
The court is so satisfied with the polling of the jurors. The court now accepts the verdicts. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of myself, the citizens of Waukesha County, and both parties here, I want to thank you for the time and attention that you've spent on this case. Your service in this case is now concluded. There is no requirement that you maintain secrecy concerning what happened in the jury room, but you do not have to discuss the case with anyone or answer any questions about it. On behalf, again, of the court and all of the parties, we thank you for your service over the last 3.5 weeks. You are discharged and free to go. All rise for the jury, please. Thank you. Be seated. Anything from the state at this time?
Your Honor, the state moves for judgment on the verdict as to each and every count.
Anything from you, Mr. Brooks?
What is judgment?
Given the verdicts from the jury here today, the court will enter judgments of conviction based upon the verdicts on all 76 counts. The court will also revoke bond. In this case, I plan on bringing the case in Monday, this coming Monday, the 31st at 1 p.m. to address further scheduling. What I would ask the parties to do between now and then is to determine how long you think each side will need to present their sentencing remarks, whether you anticipate anyone speaking on your behalf. If so, how many, how long, so that I can then look at my calendar and adjust and make sure that I have the appropriate amount of time to do that. I'm not going to sentencing on Monday. It is just for further scheduling at 1 p.m. before my afternoon case.
Judge, would you be willing to consider persons appearing by Zoom for sentencing?
Yes, I would not do anything different than what I've been doing since we started utilizing Zoom, and that is to make it available for both victims and family members of the defendant if they so choose to make statements over Zoom.
Okay, thank you. That
You're welcome.
helps us in our planning.
All right. All right then, thank you everyone. We are adjourned for today. We'll see you all on Monday.
And so with clutched hands holding up his bowed head, Daryl Brooks listening to the verdicts of all 76 counts against him read on this 18th day of his trial. All guilty verdicts, including the most serious 6 counts of first-degree intentional homicide.
Following that, 61 counts of first-degree recklessly endangering safety, dangerous use of a weapon, 6 counts of hit and run involving death, 2 counts of bail jumping, and 1 count of battery domestic abuse. Leading up to the reading of these verdicts, Daryl Brooks continued to talk to Judge Duro and argue with her and, ask her questions. And at a certain point, she just stopped responding as she went through those 76 counts and then started reading them.
She certainly has been very patient through this entire process to ensure that when an appeal, and most likely an appeal will be filed, that there are no grounds for it. Of course, this case has been underway now for 18 days. And, the most serious charges, first-degree intentional homicide, can carry a mandatory life prison sentence. As far as the sentencing is concerned, we will be hearing that at a later date. Come on Monday, they'll be talking about scheduling moving forward. CBS 58's Gabriella Becerra has been following this trial from day one. She joins us now live from the Waukesha County Courthouse with more. Gabby?
Well, Mike and Amanda, it was very tense in that courtroom waiting for that verdict. You could feel the anxiousness from everybody in the gallery. It was a full room. The first bench was reserved for Daryl Brooks' family. None of them showed up, so the deputies allowed victims to fill in that bench. They were crying as soon as that verdict was read. You could see tears, although most of them kept those emotions quiet and to themselves as Judge Duro asked them to. They were holding each other. Now, we expect that we'll hear from them as they leave the courthouse, but another thing to note is that there were a lot more sheriff deputies in the room for the verdict this afternoon. They were surrounding not only the defendant, but also people in the gallery. One person did vocalize something towards Daryl Brooks. He told him to burn in hell, and that he was removed awfully quickly for that. Judge Duro asked them to get him out of there right away. But that was ultimately the feeling in the courtroom. Everybody, tears, emotional, but back to you guys for now.
Yeah, and we've seen, thank you so much, Gabby. We've seen a lot of emotion throughout this trial from Daryl Brooks, but today, as you said earlier, Mike, he had his head in his hands the whole time. He had a mask on. We didn't really see anything from him in terms of emotion. When
he first entered the courtroom at 8:15 this morning, he appeared with, an orange T-shirt, and then they were dismissed before they came out for the final reading of the verdicts. As you saw, he had on a suit and tie. And again, as you mentioned, questioning Judge Duro on many of the same things that we've heard during the duration of this trial.
Yeah, but of course, the victims' families, people in Waukesha, and people watching this case all over the country have waited more than 300 days for this day. CBS 58's Adam Reif is live outside of the courthouse where people are gathering right now. Adam, tell us what the scene is outside of the Waukesha County Courthouse at this moment.
Starting to see more people come out. We have minimal reaction so far. People honking as they were driving by. Several people watching on their phones, reacting when the first verdicts were read. And joined now by Paul Bucher. You were a former DA here in Waukesha County. This was a very unique case, but ultimately no surprise when this came down.
No. Yesterday they asked for a few exhibits. Which is not surprising. Jurors are very conscientious of what they want to do. They really do. They don't just go in there like everybody thought it was a slam dunk. They really want to do their job and follow their oath, but they didn't ask for much, and I think they came in this morning and they already made their decision. So not a surprise. I'm glad for the families. Certainly it gives them some finality in the justice system, but no big shock, that's for sure.
We've talked about this, the novelty of this case. Daryl Brooks representing himself, his conduct in court, the way he talks to the judge got a lot of attention, but ultimately families are involved in this. Does this offer any closure? You have a lot of experience talking with families in cases like this.
I do, and I do, in my private practice, I do victimology, we call it. I represent victims of crime after the conviction is done, which sounds a little strange since I was a DA. But then I sue the person who's responsible. That's not going to happen here. But closure, I don't use that word because you don't really give them closure. They give them some finality in this building, but closure in their life and closure of losing a lost one and feeding your son because he can't feed himself, they don't really get closure, and that's why I started doing victimology, representing victims, to try to give them that. I'm not sure if you ever get it. Thank God I've never been there. But at least in this building, and the emotions and the adrenaline, the fight or flight mentality, that's at an end. And I think that'd be a huge relief.
We've talked at length over the past several weeks about Judge Doro's long leash for Daryl Brooks, sometimes going above and beyond to make sure he is heard, making sure that she's looking out for him. When we talk about appeals or the next steps, do you think there's any merit there? What will happen in the future?
Well, obviously he'll be doing life terms consecutive, I would guess. I mean, Judge Doro's in charge, not me. But there will be an appeal. I can't imagine there wouldn't be. And all the nonsense and noise that was out there that I've heard from a lot of people in this community, as a lawyer doing this for 42 years, I see two issues that are, well, three, of course, is how far the judge can go in doing certain things when representing an obstructionist, narcissistic sociopath who wants to do what he wants to do, and did she go too far? And on that issue, I think there are two legal issues the Court of Appeals will probably focus on. A, the judge forfeiting his right to testify. That's a big issue legally. That's a sacrosanct constitutional right. And did she make a good enough record? I think she did. I think she made an enormous record in this case. And removing him from the courtroom. There's case law on that. And the problem is the judge did everything she could with the tools she had available. So there'll be an appeal. This case ultimately at one point will go to court and will become probably the seminal case that will be cited as to how far a judge can go, and citing Judge Doro's unbelievable bending over backwards, breaking her back for this guy, in dealing with pro se defendants who are like him. He's not the only one. He's been probably the second one in this county. But you go around the United States, you just find a lot of these clowns that are just as bad as he is or worse. So this actually will give a lot more legal precedent to lawyers and judges throughout the United States.
We thought this would be historic. It certainly played out that way. Mr. Bucher, appreciate your time. Thanks for offering your perspective.
You bet, thank you.
A lot more people are starting to come out. We're going to share some of that sound as we get it. Guys, back to you.
All right, Adam, thanks so much. Paul Bucher, as he said, 42 years in law. I recall it was here in 1995 when he tried Ted and James Oswald, the father-son bank robbery team who executed a law enforcement officer in Waukesha County. He too, James Oswald, represented himself, and as Paul Bucher had said, and on previous occasion, it just became a circus. And so he certainly has had some experience in both sides as a prosecutor and now a defense attorney, but I found his insights onto this that, we tend to use this term once, from time to time in our business, closure. Right. No closure there, but some finality to this phase.
No, absolutely. I think you're right, Mike. It's really hard to get closure in a situation like this. This tragedy affected so many people, not just the victims, but the witnesses, the entire city of Waukesha, the state of Wisconsin, and from that, Waukesha has remained strong, and we've been out there talking to some of the people in Waukesha, and CBS 58's Stephanie Rodriguez is in downtown Waukesha right now. She spoke to a business owner earlier to get their reaction. Stephanie?
That's right. I'm here on the parade route in downtown Waukesha on Main Street. Lots of emotions here as well. People I spoke to off camera telling me that they were ready for the trial to be over today. A lot of people who chose not to go on camera were expecting this guilty verdict. Of course, emotions running high. I spoke to a business owner here on Main Street. He's a coffee shop owner. Now, we were able to talk to him right when the guilty verdicts were coming in, and we were able to get his reaction. Take a look at it.
There's relief that happened. We all knew he's guilty. So now to actually hear it be read off that he's guilty, it's just kind of a little bit of a relief and kind of more of that step in healing as a community of the trial's over with.
And what he talked about goes back to your point on closure. There will never be full closure for this community, but it is a sense of relief. Now, even when we've been just out here live waiting to talk to you guys about the reaction from that business owner and from other people here in downtown Waukesha, we had some people drive by in their cars screaming, "Yay, enjoy," when that guilty verdict was heard. So lots of emotions here in downtown Waukesha. I'll send it back to you guys in the studio.
Very good, Stephanie. Thanks so much. As is there outside of the courtroom, let's dip in now live to some of the reaction following the reading of the verdicts.
Park Avenue, when I heard the parade going on, I knew the parade was going on. I had several friends that were down there. Several of them got injured. 3 of them are dead. So like I said, I was 2 blocks away doing a delivery, and I heard the bands and everything else. And, I was delivering, and all of a sudden the blood curdling screams. And I'm like, what is going on? I'm like, okay, I logged off my apps. I went home, turned on the TV, and I was utter shock that this happened.
Yeah, ma'am, your initial reaction to the verdict. You were in the court?
I was not in the courtroom. I was outside the courtroom, and I knew he was guilty. For him to deny it was a brief moment of relief, but then all the pain comes back. All the pain comes back. Yes, there's a little closure, but not much, because we have to go through our daily lives not being around the ones that we care about, and the mother of Jackson will never be able to hold her son, where Brooks was whining about him not holding his newborn baby. What about Jackson? It's hard for all of us.
Can you describe kind of what it felt like, what it sounded like, looked like as soon as they read those guilty verdicts? Even outside the courtroom.
Justice! Justice has been served. Justice.
What was the reaction from the people you were surrounded by when
the same as mine, to justice. And they're questioning a lot on, well, why do they have to read through it? And I was like, because each one of those person means something. Their lives matter. Anybody that is not here, the state was presenting in those that could not speak for themselves because they're no longer with us. So justice was served.
We know this trial has been very emotional. It's almost been a month long. How did you all with the Waukesha community stay strong, get through it?
We just hold each other up and help each other when we can. We set up a lot of GoFundMes and that stuff, and part of Waukesha Strong Community, which I am part of. We're all together in this. We're trying to uplift and spread hope that, and we do have new barriers for this not to happen in the first place. He could have went down Pleasant Street. Simply. I didn't realize that the parade was going on. I'm like, oh wait, the parade is today because I saw the barriers. Duh, you see the barriers, something's going on. Like in the summertime, we have Friday Night Live. The same streets are blocked off for Friday Night Live. Go down a separate street. I was driving down Waukesha during the parade and that stuff. It's easy to go around there, but the barriers,
What is your first and last name and the spelling?
Laurie Hoagland, Lauriehoagland.
You mentioned you knew dozens who were injured, and you had 3 friends who were killed. Do you mind sharing who your 3 friends are?
Tamara Durand, Jane Kulich, and I knew the family of Jackson Sparks.
I'm so sorry.
So.
Thank you so much.
It's now 11:40. You've been watching CBS 58 News breaking news coverage of the verdicts in the Daryl Brooks trial, convicted on all 76 counts, including 6 of first-degree intentional homicide in the murders of these 6 individuals: 52-year-old Tamara Duran, 52-year-old Jane Kulich, 71-year-old Leanna Owen, 79-year-old Virginia Sorensen, and 81-year-old Wilhelm Hospel.
CBS 58's
and of course, Jackson Sparks, 8-year-old, the youngest of the 6 victims.
Yes, absolutely. CBS 58's Victor Jacobo has also been covering this case from beginning to end, and he joins us live outside of the Waukesha County Courthouse with more details. Victor.
Yeah, Amanda and Mike, let's talk about what's happening next. Judge Daryl mentioned after she read the verdict that they will come back on Monday for scheduling of sentencing. Monday is simply to learn from the district attorney about how many people will want to talk for that sentencing. As we know, this has affected a lot of people and many will want to speak. Judge Daryl emphasized yesterday when they talked about this that she did not want to rush the process, so she wants to make sure that she gives ample time for both sides to organize and see who wants to speak when that sentencing date does come. Brooks did mention several times throughout the trial that he does plan to appeal if there was a guilty verdict. Now that we have that may come further down the road. But Judge Daryl worked very hard to make sure that this was a fair and just trial. Many of us have seen the outbursts and antics from Daryl Brooks throughout the trial, but Judge Daryl gave him a lot of leeway, making sure that he had the opportunities to be present in court, and when not able to do so, to be in that adjacent court to where he could see and hear the court, and the court could see and hear him, but his mic could be muted. And so Judge Daryl making sure that he was able to have that just trial throughout this entire process. So if an appeal comes, it will come at a later time. But again, Monday will be the day they come back for that scheduling to see when that sentencing comes. As you mentioned, just one of those counts of the homicide charges carries a life sentence. So we will learn more in the weeks to come. For now, I'll send it back to you guys in the studio.
Victor Acobo covering this trial for both CBS 58 and our sister station Telemundo, Wisconsin.
We want to go back out live to CBS 58's Adam Reif, who is live outside of the courthouse where people are reacting to this verdict. Adam?
That's right, Amanda, Mike, we're starting to get some of that reaction trickling out as people are starting to leave the courthouse. We've talked to a few people about what it was like to be in there during that emotional time as the verdict was read and what they in the community are going through. Just to give you a sense of all the differing reactions that we're getting, some people saying justice has been served, others saying justice is not a big enough word. Heard from one woman wearing her Waukesha Strong shirt. She said the entire community has had those blue lights on their porches to offer support to everyone involved. But as we know, it wasn't just the people who were there that day that have been affected. A lot of people all throughout the community have been impacted by that. Yesterday, I spoke with a priest who talked about the path to forgiveness, saying some people it'll take a long time. For others, they may just not get there. One woman we heard from today said the judge in this case is a saint and praised her professionalism. She said each of those lives in the courtroom matter. Each of the people that were affected matter. And even though it was a long readout of those verdicts, she said it was important that each of those counts were heard. She said she needed to see justice served when she showed up today. So give you a sense of what the people here, directly impacted or not, why people have come to this courthouse to hear about this historic decision today. Back to you.
So much. The prosecution, represented by the Waukesha County District Attorney's Office, presented its case in 11 days.
CBS 58's Gabriella Becerra is again live at the Waukesha County Courthouse to break down that case. Gabby?
Well, Mike and Amanda, we're expecting to hear from District Attorney Sue Opper shortly. She's expected to come in here. We're in the courthouse at 1 o'clock. She'll be surrounded by victims and she'll share her reaction to the case. But going back to how they presented it, they did it in a chronological order, telling the jury what happened on November 21st, 2021. They called witnesses and presented evidence, starting with a domestic violence incident before the parade and ending with the arrest and interrogation of Daryl Brooks. In total, the state called 57 witnesses, including victims, spectators, and first responders. Jurors also heard from a number of experts like medical examiners, a mechanical inspector, and DNA analysts.
There was a true sense of joy in the air. Daryl Brooks killed that joy. He replaced it with terror, trauma, and death.
On top of witness testimony, jurors also saw a vast amount of electronic and physical evidence, including the car used in the attack. Now, again, we're expecting to hear from DA Opper shortly, and of course, we'll share whatever she says with you guys as well. Back to you, Mike and Amanda.
Very good, Gabby. Thank you so much. And again, we've been hearing from members of the community, and you mentioned Waukesha Strong, and the outpouring of support from other communities as well, and from within the community. The parade will go on. The parade, instead of being held like it has for the past 60 or so years on the Sunday before Thanksgiving, as it was last year, November 21st, they've rescheduled it for December 4th. But they said, you know, this is a tradition here. We need to continue on with our lives, honor the memories of those who died, of those who were hurt, of the hurting that still continues in this community, but also celebrate how we responded to this.
Yeah, and since then the community has also come together in a number of ways to think about how to memorialize these victims indefinitely. They held kind of an outward polling to see what they should do and where the memorial should be held, and they decided to have it along the parade route near downtown in a park there, and they actually have had people submit designs, and they've decided on those designs. It's not built yet, but you know, the renderings that I saw on the website are really beautiful. It's a heart, you know, that symbol that we saw for so many months after this terrible tragedy.
Our team of reporters include CBS 58's Yukari Nakayama, who is gathering a reaction to today's verdicts. Yukari?
Yeah, that's right, Mike. The people that we've seen walk out of the courtroom after the Brooks verdict have said that justice has been served. We spoke with Troy, a man who was actually at the parade, who hid in a restaurant, who talked to us just about how emotional it was, how packed it was too. He wasn't even in the courtroom. He was outside of the courtroom, and he just was saying that it was such an emotional moment hearing the first couple of counts, the guilty counts, and then we also spoke with another woman who lost 3 of her friends during the parade attack, who was very, very emotional and very happy that Brooks was found guilty. But we'll bring you more of this reaction as soon as we see more people leave the courtroom, but I'll send it to you guys right now.
All right, Yukari Nakayama, thank you very much for that live report. You know, one of the things that I remember, we were talking a minute ago about the parade must go on, is the dancing grannies. You know, they lost several members of their group there, and others were injured. But you know, they got back out there and joined in other parades. You know, and they kept that spirit going to show that we are Waukesha strong.
And I'm sure one of those individuals is talking to our CBS 58 Stephanie Rodriguez in downtown Waukesha.
And move on with your life. I'm sorry that you guys all had to go through this.
And your name and first and last name? If you're comfortable talking.
Yeah, Kathleen, Kathleen, and Doe, Doe. And I was watching the verdict while my mom was at the doctor's office today, and it brought me actually tears of joy because, you know, I've known a very special person named Tyler, and I just recently found out he has to go through more surgeries because of this parade. So I am very, very blessed that he got what he deserves. You know, people risk their lives going to a parade, and then all of a sudden somebody so angrily comes running through and ruins it all. It's just terrible, and I'm happy that he got what he deserves.
Tell me a little bit about your thoughts on his actions during the trial.
His actions have been really ridiculous. He says he's got this mental role, but I'm not cutting it. I don't believe it at all. I think he did this all for an act to keep this trial going and going and going. But in all honesty, I think he's just absolutely ridiculous.
What's the next steps you guys think for the community now?
Hopefully we can keep the parades going and bring more joy to the community, and hopefully there won't be any more tragedies like this anymore.
And come as one as a community and love each other and show the best and stand as one.
Thank you, ladies. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great day. We just heard from a couple of Waukesha residents here. I just saw them in the car and they were willing to come and talk. And as you can see, they're very happy to hear the guilty verdict today of Daryl Brooks. As you heard, one of the women did know someone impacted, injured in the parade. So she is happy again of that guilty verdict. I'll send it back to you.
All right, Stephanie, thanks very much. We'll check back with you in a bit.
Judge Jennifer Doro quickly became a familiar face in this trial. She serves as Waukesha County's chief judge. CBS 58's Gabriella Becerra is live in the courthouse and explains more about how Doro handled the challenges during this case. Gabby?
Well, Mike and Amanda, there were a lot of them, and from start to finish, Judge Jennifer Doro appeared to take her role very seriously, constantly reminding the court that her role was to protect the rights of both the victim and the defendant. Now, there were a number of tense moments between Doro and Daryl Brooks. Brooks consistently tried to undermine her credibility throughout the trial, even requesting copies of her oath. At one point, Brooks told Doro that she should recuse herself from the trial. We saw Doro take a lot of deep breaths after some of those more heated interactions with Brooks, but for the most part, she seemed to handle each situation with a lot of patience.
In my almost 11 years on the bench, I've presided over dozens and dozens of cases that have gone to trial. To say that this has been the most challenging of my career would be an understatement. I've done my best, I believe, to be fair, to be unbiased, to protect the rights of not only Mr. Brooks as it relates to this trial, but those of witnesses, those of the victims, and of course, last but not least, the jurors.
Judge Jennifer Doro gave credit where credit was due. She would commend Brooks when he was paying attention and being respectful in the court, although those moments came farther and fewer in between as the trial came to a close. Back to you guys.
Gabby, thank you. And as you heard Attorney Bucher say just a bit ago, that the two issues that might be brought up on appeal, forfeiting his right to testify and removing Brooks from the courtroom, he believes the way that Judge Doro acted, that those will hold up on appeal.
All right, let's go to CBS 58's Victor Jacobo, who is live outside of the courthouse. Victor?
Amanda and Mike, just a few moments ago, the city of Waukesha released a statement following the guilty verdict for Daryl Brooks. Mayor Sean Riley saying that he is thankful that the jury found the defendant guilty on all counts, and that he says the community can now refocus on taking steps forward as a community and continue the healing process. Also in this statement is Waukesha Police Chief Dan Thompson, who says that the victims' families as well as the first responders continue to deal with the lasting effects of the horrors of that day on November 21st, 2021. They are grateful for the support that has come from all over, not just this community, not just the state, but all over the world, he says. And he asks the community to continue to keep all those in the prayers. And finally, Fire Chief Steve Howard here in Waukesha says this decision can now allow for the fire department and community to take another step on a pathway to recovery from the horrible trauma. And they also express gratitude and thanks from everybody in the support from the city and community, and as mentioned, from all over the world, as this has been something that people across the state and country and the world have been watching, and this community has continued to heal and move forward. We have seen those efforts throughout the past year of having those initial parades after the Christmas parade happened, from the Memorial Day parade and then the 4th of July parade, the city approving motor vehicle barricades in order to give the community a sense of security during these public events, and as they move forward, continue to make sure that people can come out, honor and remember the victims with the murals and other memorials and remembrances going forward. So I'll send it back to you guys in the studio for now from the courthouse.
Victor Jacobo out there giving us a statement from the mayor, the police chief, and the fire chief. Thank you very much.
Yukari Nakayama has been getting information, reaction from a number of people outside the courthouse, and she joins us live with the latest. Yukari.
Yeah, Mike, Amanda, it feels like there's been a sense of justice served for these community members that have been leaving the courtroom that were there for the Brooks charges that he's facing charges on all counts. He's been found guilty on all of them. I spoke with a man named Troy who was actually at the Waukesha parade attack, and he fled the scene. He came out and he shared with us just his emotions and how emotional it was just to be there with everyone in the courtroom. Not in the courtroom, he was outside of the courtroom since it was so packed, but he shared with us, just all the emotions that he was feeling when he was hearing all those guilty charges, and here we have a soundbite from him. Were you here for the Brooks trial?
Yes.
How do you feel about the verdict?
I think I'm just nobody, so.
No, you were in there. You're part of this community. What's your initial reaction to the verdict?
I think it was the right decision, and I'm very happy.
How did it feel inside the courtroom?
It was tense, and but I don't know, mixed emotions.
Why was it important for you to be here personally?
I've lived here my whole life, and I was there the day it happened, and it was a horrible tragedy, and I just wanted to be here to support the community and see this through, and the judge did a great job, and I just needed closure, I guess.
Can you describe how you're feeling now after what's happened, after this long drawn-out trial, and now today?
I just I think we all just need to heal and move forward. Hearts go out to the victims' families. I mean, I can't imagine how they're feeling today, and I just want to move forward.
So at the end of,
My name's Troy Burke. I'm a resident. B-I-R-K. B-I-R-K.
And Troy, T-R-O-Y.
T-R-O-Y, yeah.
At the end of the verdicts, though, did everyone was it a cohesive reaction, or was everyone reacting every time,
It was, I think, there were so many counts. The first few, there was, I think, more emotion, and then at the end, when they were naming the victims' names, that was quite emotional to hear. So.
You said you were at the parade.
I was, yes. So.
We've heard so many times, Waukesha Strong. We have shared stories about this community continuously. How would you describe the Waukesha community? How did you all stay strong through this trial?
Just by supporting one another. I saw some familiar faces here. The first responders did an amazing job. I'm so proud. I've known Chief Howard for a long time, and I can't give. I'm just amazed at the job they did, and just the support and love that Waukesha has shown to each other through all this has been amazing. And all the different businesses and whatnot, they all helped on that day. Everybody, they took people in. My wife and I took shelter in one of the local businesses, and every time we go down there now, it's just very emotional. So, yeah.
Would you say that justice was served today?
Absolutely, yes. Justice, but it's not. It's still such a tragedy. So justice is not a big enough word, I guess, for it. But so.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Waukesha resident Troy Burke expressing his relief, very emotional, as you might expect, to today's verdicts, all 76 counts against Daryl Brooks. He is found guilty on all 76. It is now noon when you'll be joining us for the CBS 58 News at noon. We've been on the air for the past hour and 20 minutes, and we will continue to cover reaction to today's verdict for the next half hour.
Yes, our team of reporters is out there now. Our crews are gathering information, reaction, and updates on what is next. But right now we're joined by legal expert and attorney Jamie Pajak. Jamie, thank you so much for joining us. First question, what are your thoughts on the outcome of this case? Guilty, all 76 counts.
Those verdicts don't surprise me at all. The shortness of the deliberations doesn't surprise me. I think there was just such an overwhelming amount of evidence against Mr. Brooks that the jury, even though they were very careful and they paid a lot of attention and were deliberate in their verdicts, I don't think it was much of an issue for them. I think they pretty much came to their verdicts pretty quickly.
How did you think Judge Jennifer Doro conducted herself during this 18-day trial? She's been receiving praise from a number of parties on this. There were a number of disruptions, interruptions. She seemed to keep her composure throughout all of them.
Yeah, I think Judge Doro's personality fit very well with this case. She has a very patient personality, and it showed here in dealing with Mr. Brooks and dealing with all of the struggles that they had during these last 19 days. So I think she did extremely well.
All right, we will check back in with you in just a little bit. Thank you so much, Jamie, for your insight and feedback.
Thank you.
We're going to send it back live out now to Waukesha, where Stephanie Rodriguez has reaction coming in.
Yeah, we're here in Waukesha with a Waukesha County resident, Adriana. Thank you for speaking with us. So I just told you, about the guilty verdict with Daryl Brooks. Tell me a little bit about how you're feeling about that.
I think that this is good for a lot of people, that they're getting their closure. I think that he hurt a lot of people, and it impacted many people's lives, especially everyone here in Waukesha County. So I think that I'm happy that the families are getting closure and that he was found guilty for it.
What's it like now to finally, after all this time, know that he will be going to prison?
It's good, and I'm really happy that he was found guilty, and that, I don't know, that all these families are able to feel better now, and that, I don't know, it's really nice actually.
What was the healing, how's the healing process been?
It's been really hard for everyone here. I know that in my community, it was really strucken by it, and it was really hard to come back from that, scary for to go to any parade, anything like that. So this is good that he was found guilty.
Anything else you'd like to add?
No, I think that's everything.
Thank you so much. We just heard from Adriana here in Waukesha County, one of the many residents here in downtown Waukesha that have been expressing happiness after finding out the verdict of Daryl Brooks. In Waukesha, Stephanie Rodriguez, I'll send it back to you.
Stephanie, thank you very much. Well, there are more than 65 victims in this case, including the 6 who were tragically killed during the Waukesha Christmas parade.
Gabriella Becerra is live in the courthouse with what we've learned about these 6 individuals during the trial. Gabby?
Well, Mike and Amanda, we saw many of the victims in the courtroom today as that verdict was read. It was an overflowing gallery, many of the people having to wait outside of the courtroom. A lot of them we've seen throughout this trial, showing up every day to listen. And the prosecution did touch on the 6 victims, the 6 fatal victims in this attack, but we didn't learn a lot about who they were. Of course, we've talked to their families since the parade, but we also learned from the prosecution more about their last moments. 8-year-old Jackson Sparks was marching with his baseball team. Jane Kulik was passing out candy with her coworkers. Wilhelm Hospital walked in support with his wife and her group, the Milwaukee Dancing Grannies. It was Tamara Duran's first and last parade as a granny. Longtime Dancing Grannies Lee Owen and Virginia Sorensen were leading the group that day.
We were like sisters. We were a sisterhood. Ginny was our glue. She held the group together. She was in the
We're learning that some of the victims will be here with District Attorney Sue Opper for a press conference at 1 o'clock. And those we don't expect to hear from today may speak at the sentencing, which will be scheduled next week.
Gabriella Vaquera, thank you very much for that update. And yeah, you know, the central focus are the victims in this case. And, you know, she mentioned Jackson Sparks, the youngest victim who was killed. We have spoken extensively with the Sparks family over the past 11 months about Jackson, who died after he was hit and killed in that attack.
Yeah, and this summer they told us how they're coping with this tremendous loss.
It's a constant weight, it's heavy, and you're carrying it around constantly. Some days you're stronger and you can get through better, you know, easier, and some days you can't and you don't want to.
It's hard to know what'll trigger grief. You know, Jackson was such a big part of our life. You know, we feel like there's something missing. It's like a big hole right now.
And you know, earlier we heard from someone who was wondering, you know, was asked, you know, all of the counts were read. The verdicts of all 76 counts were read individually. And she said, no, it wasn't like that was going on forever and ever. You know, we even wondered whether or not they'd be, you know, read differently, as in, you know, 1 through 60. But that person said each count refers to an individual who was either killed, like Jackson Sparks, or, of course, injured.
Yeah.
All 76.
It was powerful. You know, it went on for about 35 minutes or so. But, you know, as she read that, you know, I realized that there are families who have been waiting for this, like I said earlier, for 300 plus days, waiting for this moment to see what happened to Daryl Brooks, and ultimately found guilty on all 76 counts.
There's a lot of activity in downtown Waukesha, and Stephanie is touching base with some people about how they're feeling now, just a little more than 45 minutes after the final verdict was read. Steph?
That's right. Like I said, a lot of people here expressing happiness, a lot of people, you know, seeing that closure. We have another person who lives here in Waukesha, Quinn, with us. Now, Quinn, you said you just moved to the city back in June. What has it been like for you as someone who arrived after the incident to, you know, experience all of it, the aftermath?
Well, I still feel like a little unsafe, you know, just like when I walk around in Waukesha, I have to make sure of like looking left to right, right to left. When I'm walking on the street, I'm really happy that he's in jail and they locked him up and everything like that. But I still, you know, still feel unsafe. Even like there's gonna be a next Christmas parade, and I'm still like, you know, nervous, but I still feel safe because he is, you know, in jail now. Also, I am really sorry to all those the family that lost their loved ones and stuff like that. So yeah, that's all I have to say. Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about, you know, what it's been like for you to come into the community after the parade. What's it been like meeting people who were here during it? What's their reaction been?
Well, I know a couple of my friends that were at the parade actually, and they came because I was living with them at the time, and they came home like really scared, and like we were all nervous for this one girl that lived, because I lived with a bunch of girls at one point, and so that girl was really scared and, you know, shocking. I actually was working at Rosati's down the street when it happened, and I heard, like, I don't even know what I heard, but I heard something like a crash or like something really not right, you know, not right. So yeah.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Just another person here in downtown Waukesha, again, expressing happiness for that verdict trial that came in for Daryl Brooks. We're going to keep down here in downtown on the parade route, getting more reaction from people here. Back to you guys.
Stephanie, thank you. And the impact of course, what happened there had a trickle effect throughout the entire state of Wisconsin and at other parades as well, where communities have decided to change their procedures as to how they protect parade goers during events. Certainly on the minds of so many other parade goers, no matter what town you go to, as to could this happen here and what is being done to make sure that it doesn't.
Yeah, Victor mentioned earlier that in Waukesha they have those barricades now for vehicles to protect people on the parade route. We want to go back to CBS 58's Victor Jacobo, who is live outside of the Waukesha County Courthouse. Victor?
Amanda and Mike, just as you mentioned, the city leaders of here have had to take action to help this community heal and feel secure and safe in those public events. And those city leaders releasing a statement a short while ago following the guilty verdict of Daryl Brooks. Mayor Sean Riley saying in a statement he is thankful the jury found the defendant guilty on all counts and that the community can now refocus on taking steps forward to continue their healing process. Also in the statement, Waukesha Police Chief Dan Thompson saying in the nearly 1 year since the tragedy, there has not been a day the community has not grieved. The victims' families as well as the first responders continue to deal with the lasting effects of the horrors of that day on November 21st, 2021. And he's grateful for the support that they've gotten from all over the world. And finally, Waukesha Fire Chief Steve Howard saying the decision can now allow the fire department and the community to take another step in their pathway to recovery from this horrible trauma. And they also thank everyone for the support for the department and the city. Now let's talk about what happens next as we move forward from this process. You heard Judge Jennifer Darrow talking about Monday, another court date for both the state as well as Daryl Brooks. Well, they will come back here to the Waukesha County Courthouse for a scheduling hearing. That is for the next step in this process for sentencing. Judge Jennifer Darrow, they talked about this yesterday. She mentioned she did not want to rush this process. She wants to make sure that she gives people ample time to kind of take this first day of this verdict and kind of regroup and talk about who and how many people want to speak at sentencing, which will happen at a later date, but they will reconvene on Monday to figure what that number and who exactly will want to speak for that other hearing in the future. Now, Daryl Brooks also mentioned throughout the entire jury trial that he does plan to appeal some of the instances some of the issues that have arisen during this process. But Judge Jennifer Darrow did work hard to make sure that not only was she running an efficient trial, but she was running a fair trial. And that's why even through the outbursts and interruptions and disruptions from Daryl Brooks, she gave him a lot of leeway and made it very clear that she was going to make sure that his concerns were heard, but that she also had to balance upholding his rights with the balance of making sure that the trial was run efficiently. Now, this is day 18 to give you an idea of how long this trial has been, and so she made sure to run that trial fairly in order to avoid any potential holes or gaps that may be brought up in later appeals. But if those appeals come, they will come at a later time. So again, to recap, they'll come back on Monday here at the Waukesha County Courthouse for that scheduling hearing to figure out how many people will want to speak when that sentencing does take place in the coming weeks. For now, I'll send it back to you guys in the studio.
All right, thank you so much, Victor. And he was reading some of the statements from community leaders in Waukesha. Let's not forget that in addition to the parade goers and of course those injured, the first responders who were confronted with the terrible imagery and what they experienced out there that night, certainly needing the support as well. The trauma that they experienced has been and continues to be addressed.
Yeah, there's no doubt that this was a traumatic situation for everyone, and as we've been talking about, some people finally have closure with this guilty verdict. CBS 58's Adam Reif is also live outside of the Waukesha County Courthouse with more reaction. Adam?
And we're starting to see more and more people come out of the courthouse. But as we have mentioned all throughout the broadcast so far, people processing this news in different ways. Not everyone excited, not everyone happy. There are obviously still grieving families that have to cope with what happened a year ago. It'll impact them for the rest of their lives. It was just a moment ago, the Sparks family, Jackson Sparks family, walked out of the courthouse. They declined to comment on camera, quietly walking to their cars across the street. Of course, we'll respect that and any other reaction people have. But it's important to note, as we have all along this morning, that each of these counts are a person. It represents people that have been impacted. So something that we are trying to be cognizant of is amidst the novelty of a man representing himself in such a high-profile case, that each of these people in the courthouse today has been directly impacted, so difficult for them to process. Going back to something that we talked about a little bit earlier, as we talked to a former Waukesha County District Attorney Paul Bucher about this case. He said really no surprise that the verdicts would come down this way. And the legal experts we've spoken with over the past several weeks really indicated that we kind of knew what direction this was going to go. The facts of the case not in dispute, the evidence overwhelming. We had so much video from that day, so many photographs, and so much witness testimony in the courtroom over the past several weeks. Another big piece of evidence, another key piece that they had was that car that Daryl Brooks was driving. And we saw the jury was walked around that car, the murder weapon as it was called by District Attorney Sue Opper, something that really hammered home how much of an impact this has had as they saw the destruction on the front of that vehicle. But Mr. Bucher talked about how the victims are going to be affected by this for a long time and how critical it is that the court system with victim advocates and also with the support system outside within the community is there for them, not just during this trial, not just in a couple of weeks on the one-year anniversary, but going forward, because there are a lot of families that will not be made whole by this verdict. But again, as we have said all along, this is a first step for many, a first step of closure if there ever will be. Guys?
Well said. Thank you so much, Adam. Daryl Brooks' interruptions, the disruptive behavior forced the defendant to forfeit his right to be in the courtroom a number of times during this trial.
Yeah, and it went on all the way up until the minutes before the jury read the verdict. CBS 58's Gabriela Vaquera has been live in the courthouse and breaks this entire case down, including Brooks' behavior all this time. Gabby?
Well, Mike and Amanda, because of that disruptive behavior over the course of the trial, we weren't sure how Daryl Brooks was going to react to the verdict today. You saw he had watery eyes. He had his hands crossed together in front of his face at one point, staring ahead, not showing too much emotion. But over the course of this trial, we never were sure what side of Daryl Brooks we were going to get. And whenever he did show that disruptive behavior, he would get moved to the courtroom next door. Now, in that courtroom, it was equipped with video and audio technology, allowing him to still participate without the ability to disrupt the trial. Judge Jennifer Dorrell would send him there when his interruptions were so constant that the proceedings couldn't continue with him in the same room. His trips to the other courtroom became shorter and less frequent as the trial progressed, but they were still happening. At times we saw Brooks take his shirt off, rip up documents, and make gestures in that court.
Mr. Brooks, you are hereby warned once again, if you continue with that, you will be removed from the courtroom.
Remove.
Requesting to go to the other courtroom?
I told you that before I even came over here.
At the start of week 2, we did hear Brooks apologize for his behavior during week 1. However, his disruptions became all more the constant towards the end of this trial.
Gabby, thank you. You're watching the CBS 58 News at Noon extended coverage of the guilty verdicts in the Daryl Brooks trial. We now turn it to CBS 58 ready weather meteorologist Rebecca Scholl for a quick check of your forecast.
Yeah, Mike, we're going to recap that rain that we had yesterday, much needed as most of us are down over an inch for the month of October, and some isolated spots right up at an inch over the last 24 hours, including Pell Lake and Kenosha, so some of our southern spots. But even some of the burbs in and around Milwaukee floating around that 3/4 of an inch mark, and then the list going down from there. And we still have some beautiful fall color to take in and more of a bright sky versus the gloomy weather yesterday. And check out Kenosha, sneaking in past peak, the rest of us at peak, and we've got some nice days to get back outside and enjoy the fall color. Love this photo coming in. Geese in fall color out of Sheboygan. Thanks to Alex Donovan for sharing that with us today. And as we fast forward to Halloween, we're looking for fairly quiet weather as we look at recent history. Most of the time that holiday falls with temperatures in the 50s, but other things to point out, back in 2019, how about almost a half a foot of snow? We might actually be looking at a warmer day than we've seen in the last 6 years. So a sneak peek there, Climate Prediction Center backing that up with a high probability for above normal temperatures from Halloween into the first handful of days of November, average mid-50s at that point. So fingers crossed, maybe we can squeeze out a few more 60s as we flip over to the new month. Today we're looking at lots of sunshine with a few of those fair weather clouds passing through on the backside of that system on that northwesterly wind, but the rain is far to the east and high pressure will be with us in the coming days, and that will continue to provide a quiet weather setup. Is funneling in cooler air on that northwest breeze. We have temperatures upstream which are in the 30s at this time. 48 in Milwaukee, 52 in the Windy City, and we're feeling the wind a little bit today, but that breeze is noticeable as temperatures back to the west and north are a little cooler in the lower to to mid-40s at this time. Rest of the afternoon is quiet. We'll have temperatures getting into the lower half of the 50s with a good dose of sunshine there. Chilly tonight, although the wind does ease. We drop back to about that freezing mark. So bundle up those kids before you head them off to the bus stop Thursday morning, and a mostly sunny sky is expected as we go through the day. It will be another one with those temperatures getting into the 50s there. Same scenario as we unfold the last day of the work week for your Friday, starting off in the 30s, wrapping it up with those high temperatures in the 50s. Let's take a look at the rest of that 7-day forecast. You can see that those numbers start to inch up as we get into the weekend. 60s for highs with dry conditions right through Halloween.
All right, Rebecca, thank you very much. We have been on our air live here for almost 2 hours covering the guilty verdict on all 76 counts for Daryl Brooks, who was accused and now has been found guilty of 76 counts of it during the Waukesha Christmas Parade trial.
We want to send it back out as we collect reaction to today's verdicts. Yukari Nakayama joins us live right outside of the Waukesha County Courthouse where all this took place. Yukari.
Yeah, Mike, Amanda, it's been a sense of justice that's been served for people who I've spoken to today. A lot of them have said to me, justice has been served. We spoke with Troy Burke today, who was in the Waukesha Parade attack. He fled the scene and found coverage at a restaurant. He says that it was an emotional time hearing those guilty charges as they were going through the trial. And he says that the entire room was packed, that he wasn't even in the courtroom as he was hearing these charges roll out. And we spoke to another woman who says that she lost 3 of her friends during that Waukesha Christmas attack. And she says that although they feel like justice has been served, nothing will bring her friends back. But she says that at least that there's that he will be facing some sort of repercussion for what Brooks did to her friends. Again, we'll be staying here, getting more reaction from people as they're leaving the courthouse, but we'll bring it back to you guys in the studio.
Okay, Yukari, thanks so much. Let's get back to legal expert attorney Jamie Pajak. Jamie, earlier we were talking about this case, and of course a lot of people are wondering, okay, will it hold up on appeal? As you've been watching this unfold, your thoughts on whether it will survive an appeal?
Yeah, I do think it will survive an appeal. I think that Judge Daryl has made a very big and detailed record about this case. And I think ultimately the issues that Mr. Brooks will have on appeal, the appellate courts will find that Judge Daryl did everything appropriately and legally and made a record of such. So I think it will survive the appeal.
I want to go back a little bit. We've been talking a lot about Daryl Brooks' behavior during this entire trial. What is your analysis of, the mixed emotions we saw? We saw him crying at some points, arguing with the judge, kind of having all of these outbursts. What do you think, if any, was his goal?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that I don't even know if he knew what his goal was. I think definitely he wanted to disrupt, he wanted to delay, potentially to cause the trial to be rescheduled or mistried. I think he had some legitimate emotion there. Obviously, he was tired and his patience was trying as well. But I think for the most part, Mr. Brooks just wanted to disrupt and he wanted to obstruct the process.
All right. Thank you very much, Jamie. We will check back with you as we gather more information about how this case moves forward.
CBS 58's Gabriella Becerra has been following this trial closely in court, not only on air for us, but tweeting on social media in various ways, information constantly. Gabby, I just want to get your thoughts on this day 18 as this comes to a close, at least this phase of the trial with the guilty verdicts on all 76 counts. Your thoughts on how all of this played out?
Well, Mike, it has been a long trial, long days for both the jurors, the parties, and the people watching in the gallery. There was a lot of interruptions from Daryl Brooks, and that seemed to extend a lot of the days, to be honest with you, especially starting from jury instruction. It took them 2 days to get through things because of his constant back and forth. There were a lot of tense moments between both Daryl Brooks and the judge, and sometimes the prosecution. A lot of his interruptions caused this trial to, frankly, last 18 days, in my opinion.
You know, we heard the outburst as the first couple of guilty verdicts were being read on those intentional homicide charges just a few hours ago. Were there any other strong emotions in the courtroom today and in the time leading up to those verdicts being read?
Well, for the most part, Judge Joro did ask that people in the gallery keep their reactions to themselves, just out of respect for everyone in the courtroom. We did hear crying in the courtroom today. I could see people comforting each other, a lot of arms wrapped around each other, and there were Kleenex boxes in the room. That was something we heard through testimony as well. There were some emotional testimony from witnesses. We could hear people in the gallery crying at times watching some of the videos. Some of the witnesses also were emotional as they testified, a few of them crying on the stand.
So, and Gabby, you said that we have an opportunity to hear from prosecutor Sue Opper coming up around 1 o'clock today. What do we expect to learn and hear from her this afternoon?
That's right. We're actually learning details about that press conference right now. We're learning that the entire prosecution will be here. Some victims and victim family members will be here with them as well. We'll likely hear from District Attorney Sue Opper, the police chief here in Waukesha, as well as the husband of Ginny Sorensen, one of the fatal victims, and Tyler Pudliner, one of the band members injured in the parade. We'll likely hear their reaction, but to be determined what they say about this case and how they feel about the outcome.
And Gabby, with about a minute left here, if I can quick get a response to you about how many times the judge actually had to send the defendant to, I guess, a timeout room.
Well, Mike, I actually did not count. There were multiple times in the first week, but as the trial continued, less and less frequently that he had to be moved there. There were a couple times in the last week that he got sent over there, but overall it was too many to count.
All right, Gabby, thank you so much for your coverage today, and we're going to wrap up our extended coverage of the guilty verdicts in the Daryl Brooks Waukesha parade trial.
And be sure to check back in with us on air and online as we have that news conference that's coming up in about a half hour. So thank you so much for staying with us.
That was a CBS 58 breaking news special report. We now return you to regularly scheduled programming.